Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into one of the most stressful, most emotionally charged moments in any real estate deal, the lowball offer. So let's just jump right into it. Picture this, a $40,000 below asking offer just landed on your Dublin listing. Your seller is, understandably, insulted. And your gut reaction? It's probably to just reject it outright. But hold on. That offer just told you something really important about how one part of the market sees this property. And what you do next? Well, that decides if a deal happens at all. So here's the big question. Is it really an insult, or is it information? Look, that initial gut punch reaction, it's totally normal. But the best agents, the ones who consistently close deals, they don't run on emotion. They run on data. So what if we just reframed this? What if it's not an attack, but just the first data point in a negotiation? This right here is the question that separates the pros from everyone else. That offer, no matter how low it feels, is a signal. It's telling you what at least one buyer out there believes the property is worth. The key is to shift your mindset and, more importantly, your seller's mindset, away from that emotional reaction and toward a strategic one. Okay, so now let's get into the hard numbers, specifically for us here in Central Ohio. Because what feels like a really personal slight is actually just a predictable part of our market. Take a look at this number, 31%. In 2025, nearly a third of all transactions right here in the Columbus market started with an offer that was more than 8% below asking. I mean, that's a huge slice of the market. This isn't some rare event, it's a pattern. And seeing it on a chart like this just makes it crystal clear, right? That 31%, that's not just an abstract statistic. It's happening every single day in neighborhoods from Westerville to New Albany. When you see it this way, it kind of normalizes the low ball. It stops being a shock and starts being something you can actually plan for.
So, if we know that this is a totally normal opening move for almost a third of buyers, then your response becomes absolutely critical. The choice you make isn't just about this one deal, it's about the entire strategic path you're about to go down.
And wow, does this slide illustrate the consequences? Just look at this. When agents in our market responded with a counteroffer backed by data, they closed the deal 67% of the time. But when they went with silent rejection, the close rate completely collapses to just 12%. The difference is absolutely staggering. A smart, strategic response is over 5 times more effective.
So here's the bottom line. Just ghosting the offer isn't a power move. It's actually a pretty bad gamble. But responding with data, that's a calculated professional strategy. It keeps the conversation going, and, more importantly, it keeps you in control. Okay, but none of this data matters one bit if you can't get your client on board. Before you even think about crafting a reply to the buyer's agent, you have to manage your seller's emotions. Honestly, this is where the great agents really earn their commission. Your job is to be the calm, strategic expert in the room. You start by validating their feeling. I totally get why this is frustrating. Then you pivot. You reframe the situation using the data we just looked at. And finally, you propose the counter strategy, moving them from feeling emotional to taking action. You should really think of yourself as the market translator. You're the one who takes that raw emotional reaction, all that noise, and you translate it into a clear strategic signal for your client. You're providing the context that turns a moment of panic into a moment of genuine opportunity. All right, so you've navigated that initial emotional wave. Now it's time to actually craft the counter strategy. And it all begins with getting your seller completely aligned with the plan. And this isn't about just telling them what to do. Nope. It's about showing them the why. You walk them through the numbers. Remember, almost a third of deals start out just like this. And look at this 67% success rate when we counter. You frame the counteroffer not as giving in, but as a strategic test to see how serious this buyer really is. The goal here is to get on the exact same page before a single word goes back to the other side. Now, this strategy is powerful for one offer, for sure, but what happens when you're juggling multiple listings? You got one in Gahanna, another in Dublin. It gets chaotic. To apply this level of strategic thinking consistently, you absolutely need a system. And this is really where having a dashboard to track all your offer activity becomes a game changer. Seeing everything in a single, clear view with a tool like CMA Flow means that a low but maybe still workable offer never gets lost in the chaos. And it ensures your data-driven response always goes out on time. So let's end with this question. The next time that lowball offer hits your inbox, what are you going to see? An insult that shuts the door? or information that opens it. Your perspective, backed by data and a solid process, is your most powerful asset for turning a frustrating moment into another closed deal.